because we have a few people away today. And cool, why you guys do that one? Cool. All right, gang. So basically, is your Mac behaving how you want it to behave? Is your mouse moving all across the screen nicely? Do you have a right-click button? Thank you, Stacey. If you don't, go down to settings. Go to, it looks like a little bunch of gears. Go to mouse. And then adjust your tracking to how you like it. And make sure your secondary button is enabled there. If you've got two primary buttons, you ain't going to be able to right click, okay? And you do right click every now and again in iMovie. So doing those couple of things there can really stop you wanting to have a spontaneous nosebleed with frustration, okay? So generally, I usually do left button for my main clicker and then right clicking on my pointy, what's that finger? The one in the middle? The rude finger? Does that have a fancy name? Okay, I right click with my rude finger and with my pointy finger I do my left clicking. Wow, I'm so glad we got that on recording. Don't know about you, but I'm going to open up iMovie now, and it is the camera in the middle of the purple star. Now, it might be down on your dock, which is kind of like your start menu on Windows. If it's not there, click the rocket ship, which is the launch pad, and click on the dots until you find the screen that has iMovie on it. Okay? Once you open iMovie, it should look a little something like this. Ta-da! It's iMovie. What's it say? Excellent. Cool. Now, all right, everyone with me? Who's with me? Everyone in iMovie. Okay. What's it look like? A star with a camera in the middle of it. There we go. Nice. Remember, if your programs run off on you, you can always go up to the magnifying glass and type for what you're after. So if I want iMovie, you get iMovie if you start typing iMovie. That's kind of a nice thing about Macs. If you just click on that little magnifying glass there in the top right-hand corner, which is always there, you can always find what you need. All right. So the gist of iMovie is you import your footage up here where there's the little import arrow. You create projects with the plus arrow. And when you've got something finished, you can then share it out there to the world. You can save it as a video file. You can publish straight to YouTube, Vimeo, all that kind of stuff. What we'll be doing is exporting a video file, a HD video file. Yeah. And pretty much, if we just look up at my screen, this is where your clips will hang out once you bring them in, and you can scrub through them and you can decide which part of the clip you want to bring in, if not all of it. This is like the little mini TV screen where you get to anything you're previewing, you start to see up here. There's a couple of options up here which will affect your footage, and we'll talk briefly about them. And this down here is your timeline, which is where your clips move in what order, and then you play your video from left to right. Yeah? Okay? So the end of your clip will be way over this side, and the start of it will be over here. And you can drag and drop clips in however you want, all that kind of thing. Just stay with me. No, let's bring some clips in, actually. Don't stay with me. Click on the import button, and you can bring in clips however you want. So you can go to the folder, select the clips, and drag them into the timeline. But let's go to import. and you'll get a dialog box where you can navigate to the file. So I'm going to go to desktop over on the left-hand side here because that's where I put mine. And then I've got a folder in there called clips to work with. And I'm going to select each one of those clips by clicking on the first one and then clicking on shift, holding down shift and then clicking to select all of them, yeah? Up here, right at the top, is an import location, and that sort of tells you where your files are going to hang out in. It's generally not a big deal. Generally, I just leave it to this, but you do have the option to change it to an event. So you might want to call it farmers market video or something like that. If you want to keep all that footage in that bucket, the default for iMovie is if you shoot over, like if you every day you'd import photos, it goes into that day's bucket. Yeah. So if you do this project every couple of days, you're going to have your footage in different buckets. Not the end of the world, but if you kind of want them all in your farmer's market bucket, anyway, I'm not going to keep flogging that horse. You guys get that, yeah? Select the clips you want and hit import. And they're going to come on in. How you going there, Vince? You all right? Yeah. All right. I'll show you another way to bring your clips into is you just go to your Finder folder, you navigate to that folder, clips to work with, and then you can select them all, grab them, and literally just drag them into the timeline too, and they will just pop into the timeline. All of that, of course, is dependent on this little button here, the create button, okay? So if you don't have a timeline yet, it's kind of hard to drag your clips into it. But when you hit create, you'll see a little speech bubble pop up there, yeah? What's it say, Vince? Yeah, okay. So that's literally like a day at the, going to the region cinemas. Okay, there's trailers at the start of the movie, and then there's like the full-on feature film at the end of it. Trailers are kind of fun. They're a bit like sort of kitschy preset kind of things. We're just going to click on movie because we're making a full-on movie, and then we should start to see some themes. Okay, and there's about a dozen, if not more, different sort of themes. There's like simple and scrapbook and newscast, and if you press play on the middle of each of them, you can start to see a little. Okay. Keep in mind, there's like many hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people that use iMovie. Okay, comes on every Mac, and there's only like 15 themes. So, if you use a theme and you'll start to. If you spend some time on YouTube, you'll see just what Liza says. Yeah, I like to always go to no theme, okay, and just sort of just build a video. Yeah. Sometimes you might find something suits something, but generally I'm a no theme kind of guy. So you need to double click on it or click on it and go down and hit create. And this will give you a chance to call your project something. And I'm just going to call this iMovie Day 1. Click OK. All right, cool. So I've got myself a blank project there.
I have a question.
Yo.
How is that girl able to just use like long songs without? Is there any copyright reason?
Yeah, there is copyright things to consider. Some songs you can use for a fee. Some are kind of open source. Yeah, the music you're probably looking for the safest use is called royalty-free music. Yeah, and I'll show you some sites where there's some pretty good stuff. There's a lot of bad stuff, but you don't want to like
You had like laws and stuff.
Yeah, I'd rather not say it on a screen recording, but some artists aren't as stressed about it as others. So if you use a Metallica song, you'll probably get a copyright infringement thing if you post it to YouTube. Yeah. Apparently John Butler's pretty cool about it, and some artists like that, they don't mind, depending on the use. But generally speaking, you want the artist's permission to use the song. Anyone heard of Moby? Remember Moby, the dance guy? Sort of had like, remember Body Rock? I'm so old. It's big when I was in high school. The bald guy, the bald mute. Yeah. So thanks. Eliza's just saying, yeah. So he was bald. Yeah, he was kind of the same vintage as Fatboy Slim. He had a website called Moby Gratis, as in you can have it, where if you wrote to Moby and said, I'm doing a project about a cool idea, he'd give you the music for free. Yeah. Anyway, music's another thing we can get into. Yeah. Don't necessarily steal. Now, I quite like to get my clips and just drag them into the timeline. I'm that kind of guy. Okay. If you like to bring your clips in and only bring bits of them to the timeline, that's cool too. But for this, I'm just going to grab my clips, drag them in. And then I like to trim them up and rearrange them from the timeline. That's just how I like to work. Some people like to just refer to their little bits of footage up in here and just grab fractions of it and drag it in. I like to do it this way, yeah? And I think you guys possibly might too. Everyone got some footage in the timeline? What's happening with you, Vince?
Oh, I'm just trying to look at this. It's come up in a bit.
Yeah, so we'll just give it a name. Alright, Stacey, you want to hit on the create button? We want to start a movie. Let's go no theme just for now. Down here, we're going to see the big blinking create button. Give it a name. Alright, Eliza's going the other way, right? Cool, I like that.
That's why it came up.
Did it?
Yeah.
Alright, cool. Okay. Cool, alright, so you guys have imported your footage and you see it, and it's looking slightly different to my screen at the minute. But your footage is hanging out in this box up here, yeah? And you've got this preview screen here, and you've got a timeline with clips down here, right? But no, there's no clips in your timeline yet because you just started your project. Everyone cool? Cool. Jimmy, are you cool? Outstanding. All right, so on this window here, you see this little film strip button here? If you click on that, you can adjust the size of your clip, as in how much, it's not going to affect the length, but how much sort of physical space it takes up on the screen. And that's good for a couple of reasons, because you can actually see it a bit clearer. But the nice thing it does too is that it also, when it comes down to editing audio, you can see the waveforms, yeah? And have you guys got clips in there at the minute? How many of them look like that, yeah? Just with clips. If you check this box, you see how the audio jumps down below it? That'll become potentially more important later, because then you can adjust the volume of the clips and things like that. So I like to mess around with the clip size depending on what job I'm doing. If I'm going in close to do a really precise edit, I'll make everything big. But if I'm just sort of dragging clips around, I'll make it nice and small, and then it's really easy for me just to grab clips and move them because I can see everything on screen. The other slider, which is important, is this one here, which is right next to that button. And that, it doesn't make your clips longer in time, but it does zoom into them deeper. So instead of seeing each clip represented as one little rectangle, as we zoom this thing, we start to see it blown out in time. So we're almost seeing frame by frame if we blow it out. So if you're going to do a really precise edit, you want to chop off or just finish a clip at the exact point the meteorite falls from the sky and hits the skyscraper. Get your clip size massive and get yourself fully zoomed in, and that's going to give you the best chance to slice with precision, yeah? I only say that because I see a lot of people trying to do really precise edits and they're like zoomed out this far, and it's really, they're like, I can't move my hand small enough. Like, yeah, zoom it in, gives yourself lots of control that way. Is that making sense? Zooming in and out of clips. Cool. All right. Okay. What does spacebar do in Photoshop? You guys are killing me. Gives you the hand tool so you can drag around your photo. Yeah, so if you want to quickly navigate to a spot, you can hold down spacebar, the hand tool's there, and then you can like rock climb to that corner or down to that corner.
I just hold down and scroll.
Okay, cool. That works too. Yep. Spacebar in iMovie plays your clip, yeah? Okay. Spacebar to start it from wherever, and spacebar to stop it. And this line here, you know, there's this line here which follows my mouse. There's that line which is kind of like your insertion point or something, like when you're typing in Word. But when you click, it moves the playhead. All right, or you can just grab the playhead and drag him around too. But you're just as easy to click. So it's a bit hard to explain, but if between moving, clicking, and spacebar, you can start to get around your clip really quickly and go, oh, I want it to finish there, okay? And then, so that's pretty much the navigating, okay? Zooming in and out, and then making your clip bigger, okay? And if you find you want to edit, if I want to end my footage the minute Desiree stops yawning, like there, I might be, instead of using the visual, sorry, that was really rude. Instead of using the visual cue of her mouth closing, it's probably going to be easier to edit via the audio of the and then the minute that audio form goes to nothing, you just snip it there. A lot of the time I'm editing by audio because it's easier to see where to chop it. Like when I like every 8 seconds for a whole year, I'm sorry guys, my arms literally look like all the same. They look like a little, okay, and I can, from a mile off in iMovie, I can go, I said there just because of the shape of the thing. All right, who wants to see some clip cutting action, yeah? That guy does. He's keen. Okay, so if you click on a clip, see how the gold like it's selected? You can grab the end of the clip and you can drag it in, okay? And see how we've taken -2 seconds off that clip, because let's see that little speech bubble pops up. We've just trimmed 2 seconds off that clip, yeah? If we decide we want that time back, it's cool. You just drag it out and it's back, okay? In iMovie, nothing is destructive, okay? So you can chop stuff, cut stuff, and then you can drag it all back, okay? So it's pretty hard to screw up. If you make a mistake on your computer, what's the keyboard shortcut to fix it straight away?
Control-Z.
Control-Z works here too. Right-click is handy if you're not a keyboard shortcut person, because if you go, I want to cut the clip here, click there, right-click, and then you've got cut, copy, delete, or my favorite, split clip. Okay? What that does is it puts the knife down the middle and you've got two chunks, yeah? You can then delete that chunk or do whatever you want with it, move it somewhere else and things like that. Did you notice how I cut that chunk? Okay, I cut it. So it's instead of like I literally cut the tail off the worm. Okay, that's the worm, cut it. If I grab this clip and drag that way, I'm actually extending that footage back beyond the cut. So you can actually like regrow the worm. Okay, that can get confusing because I've got the footage, like I just cut it and now I've regrown it. So if you watch this, you'll get a weird kind of double up effect. But yeah, I just did that to show you that you can cut stuff and then regrow it, and it's really hard to lose your footage and screw it up. Yeah? Cool? All right. That's sort of the bread and butter stuff. You'll scroll to a clip, you'll go, I want this.
So maybe, and this is where you want to.
Say if I want to cut that little bit out of there, I would go to there, I'd right click, I'd go split, I'd move to there, I'd go right click, I'd go split. Then I could decide, do I want that clip? Do I want it somewhere else? Or do I just want to press delete and get rid of it forever? Yeah? If I get rid of it forever and I want it back straight away, Command Z, it's back. Or if I get rid of it forever and don't realize till the next day when you come back to iMovie, you can drag it back, okay? And everything's sweet. Am I explaining this all right? Are you guys cool with that? Cool. Moving clips around. What can you hear?
He's like going through it in slow motion, and the sound sounds like something that a predator and an alien.
Oh, nice. Okay. So if I'm going to move clips around or I'm going to map my story out, I kind of like to zoom so I can fit as much as I can on one screen, yeah? So if I want to move clips around, click on the clip so it's selected, and then you can just pop it in. Pop.
Oh, so nice. It opens it for you.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm pretty sure in Premiere,
Yeah. Premiere is really take no prisoners stuff. So you, depending on what keyboard shortcuts you're holding, it'll either if you drop the footage in, it'll leave the gap where you left it, so you'll have a dead spot in your footage.
Yeah.
But if you do it holding like Alt or Shift or something, it'll close up behind it. But yeah, it's Premiere's hard, but it's good. But
yeah. I'm a Premiere Pro.
are you?
Get it?
Yeah, I do. But are you? Because seriously, I
I use it like it's like my whole school.
Okay, cool. I want you to pick your brains then. So if you move stuff here, it automatically fills in the gaps for you. So you're never going to export your video and have film night and go, I've got 10 seconds of black screen or dead. It's always iMovie's going to try and help you out that way. That can be annoying because if you move this here and then you go, you know what, I don't like it there, I'm going to put it back to, shit, where was my hole? Yeah, so you just got to be a little bit aware of that. Not too big a deal.
These are real basic ones. I had TTL wizards.
So I'm just hitting spacebar to play there. You've got 2 layers of footage in iMovie that you can work with, and you've got this layer here, and then you can have, let me just drop this down a bit. Then you can have an overlay, okay? So if I want this shot of this handsome gentleman getting his picture taken, yeah, cool. Say Pete's talking about, remember Pete? Hello, I'm Pete. And this is just me scrolling by floating the mouse over the top, so you can quickly scrub to where you want. Say if Pete was talking about the art of portraiture and I like to use reflectors and window light, that might be an ideal opportunity to grab this clip and drop it over that part he's talking about, yeah? So obviously this clip is way too long. We can trim that. But watch what happens as we play from here.
So
Okay.
pocket wizards are like sort of the Mercedes-Benz of our cactuses.
All right. Do you see what was happening there?
Double audio.
It had double audio in it, yes, which needs to be fixed. But essentially, it's a bit like Photoshop layers. You're looking at it from the top down, and then once this clip is covered up by this clip, you see this clip, you see all that clip until you run out of that clip, and then you see what's underneath it, yeah? All right, and you can trim and chop that so you only have like a tiny little section of it.
So pocket wizards are like sort of the Mercedes-Benz of our cactuses.
And that audio, my audio is...
These are the basic ones.
And then it's back to Pete talking, okay? You guys are pros. You've already said that audio is a bit annoying, Ben. I would rather hear from Pete than hear from you, okay? I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. So I want to work near these two clips. So I'm going to click there, and that way when I zoom in, it's going to sort of zoom in around them.
So pocket wizards are like sort of the Mercedes-Benz of our cactuses.
Now, what can you tell me from having a look at the audio waveforms? Because whose voice do we want to get rid of in that scene? None taken. Now, looking at like louder sounds look bigger than quieter sounds because it's like audio. Loud, quiet, yeah. Where do you think that audio was coming from me?
So pocket wizards are like sort of the Mercedes-Benz of our cactuses.
Sorry?
From your camera, it was
Yeah.
The bottom one.
So even though we're looking at the top clip here, this audio wave is bigger than that one, yeah? All right, cool. So there's a couple of ways we can fix this problem. We can get to this clip and we can split it there, and we can come over here and we can split it there, and then we can drop the audio of this clip. So then we'll have a bit of whatever's going on at the top. And literally you can grab the audio line and you can turn the volume down like that. Yeah? Just by clicking and dragging.
you can never dub it. You can't dub it.
Yep, you totally could. We could put some sound over the top of that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing you can do is and I'm going to move from the timeline up into the adjust panel here, is you get a couple of options for every clip, and these options sometimes change depending on where your clip is. See this clip down here, it's got this amount of options, yeah? But when we go up to a cutaway clip, or the B-roll, the one on top, we get an extra set of options depending on how we want to treat this clip up the top, okay? At the minute, it's a straight cutaway, so when it's on top of that, we just cut to it, yeah? But we can do stuff like we could have picture in picture, so it's like a tiny little picture, okay? So when it plays, so we'll play from there, and then
pocket wizards are like sort of the Mercedes-Benz of our cactuses.
cool, yeah? So we can treat it in all sorts of different ways.
Put transitions in front.
Yep, absolutely. So with the audio stuff, if we're on this clip, we can say when this clip is playing, we want to lower the volume of the other clips, so to give that one emphasis. Or we can tick this one and we'll say we'll lower the other volumes of other clips by, like, if you do that, go that way, that's pretty much you're not lowering them.
If you're doing, say you had do like the beach here, that the sounds of the waves.
Yep.
But you want to talk, you may want to talk over so you can have the waves a bit lower.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. So you could use your camera to record that audio and then just ditch the footage if you didn't want it. Yeah. So I'm going to lower the volume of the other clips when this clip of Carl is playing. So hopefully my voice is down now. Yeah.
Turn the other one up.
Yeah. So on this one, I can either drag the volume up. Yeah. And I can either drag it up here or I can drag it up on the line there. Yeah. There's lots of different. iMovie's pretty tactile. It's like, I want to make that louder, or I want to make that quieter, or I want to cut that end, or I want to split. You just mash at it with your mouse and it'll probably happen. Yeah. Cool. We want to talk a tiny bit about transitions. Yeah? Okay. So, questions about that? Remember, this is recorded, so you'll be able to watch it again if you want to. Yeah, and you are totally learning a new program straight off the bat. So it's like deer in headlights kind of stuff.
So what happened?
Yeah.
You're in that stage now.
Mm-hmm.
And say, I still want to put another thing on top of that again. Maybe say,
yeah.
I'm happy with that, but another little bit in the middle of that, for instance, I want to put something else in there.
Okay.
So do you have to save that as a movie, then do it, or can you do 3 lots?
You can't do 3 layers, yeah? That's the limitation of iMovie. And iMovie says, right, you go to Final Cut Pro or you go to Premiere if you want to do 3 layers of video.
So you always just save
What
that and
about
go
separate
back.
audio?
Audio, you can do many different layers. So you can have music and you can have an interview, and then you can put, like, I don't know, bird sounds or car burnout sounds and stuff.
Okay.
But that's just sort of saying, hey, this is a free program, guys. Like, if you want to do that kind of stuff. Yeah. The way to hack it, which is, like, I love hacking iMovie, is you do your 2 layers, you export that video, which is like flattening it, you bring it back in, and then you can go another layer on top of that. Yeah.
So take long to save a movie.
Not too bad, no.
Yeah, okay.
You're talking maybe, like, on these kind of computers, 5-minute video, maybe 10, 15 minutes tops. Yeah. And when you're thinking about it, that's saving 30 reasonably high-res JPEGs a second to make a video. So, yeah. Transitions. So we've got the timeline there, and we can click and drag and we can do some things there. We've got a whole bunch of options per clip up in here, and you can select a group of them and you can adjust these. Like, it's a bit like when you select 10 photos in Camera Raw and you change one thing, it all changes across them. So you can click here and you can go to the turtle, which is the speed control, and you can speed up your clip or you can slow it down and things like that. And once you do that, you'll get a control on it where you can stretch it out or you can speed it up and things like that, yeah. Cool. Normal. So we will play in detail up in there, and just know that if you want to play a clip backwards or in reverse, or if you want to speed it up or you want to do some slow-mo footage, come to me, talk about it, and we can make it happen. Yeah? Okay? So if you just got a creative idea, we can pull it off. Transitions are kind of real bread and butter, and they live down here next to titles. Hey! That was splendid.
Yeah, alright. Big.
Cool.
G'day.
Okay, so we have transitions, titles, which is text, which is writing on your videos, maps and backgrounds, which I rarely ever use, and then iTunes. So you can drag your music straight into the clip. How Apple kind of like it to would prefer it is if you add that music to iTunes and then you get it in through there, because it's Apple kind of wants Apple to control everything. Don't have to do it that way. You can download your music and just drag it straight in. Yeah, but if you go via iTunes, you can search for the name of the track and all that kind of stuff. Keep in mind the copyright stuff. So if you use a Kanye West song, I'll be saying to you, can you show me the written permission from Kanye that it was cool to use this song? Because that's in your assessment requirements. Transitions. All sorts of different transitions here. Probably the one you see most on television is like the cross dissolve, which is like I have a picture of trees and then it fades to a picture of lake. Yeah? So if we drag that one in and have a look at it, I'm just going to whack Carl back down there. We play.
So Pocket with.
Hey.
So Pocket with.
Why is
So
that?
So
It's not showing it. Okay, that's great. It's that kind of effect, yeah? Let me whack it another side. There we go. Because it's rendering video, like in live time, it's saving 30 frames per second at a time. Sometimes iMovie just goes, and any video editing program will go, give me a minute. So that's that, one fades out, one fades in. Cross blur, it's kind of cool. Fade to black's like usually
Cacti.
that's a pretty standard one. Like if you want to hide your cuts, if there's like a changing questions in an interview, things like that, fade to black's good. Fade to white kind of to me reminds me of those movies when someone's about to die and they die. Yeah.
The cactuses.
You know what I mean? Like
Like in a video game where you get hit and it like
yeah.
turns red or turns white.
Yeah. So that can work cool. Like some people use fade to white and fade to black. Like they'll shoot their camera and then they'll like move it into something black, or they'll move it into a white fridge or something like that. And those transitions can really, that's like cinematography stuff. And then there's all sorts of semi-cheesy kind of things too, which you want to use if it's going to help your story. Yeah?
Cacti.
Okay, so like the old page turner. Puzzle. Yeah, okay. Screw you, Ben. Place that one. Okay, so some of them can work really well. The kind of like if you're watching Star Wars or those kind of older westerns or those kinds of movies that are of a time, you might see a lot of this kind of stuff where they wipe. Wipes are cool, particularly if you're following action that goes left to right. So that scene in Star Wars where Ben realizes like his aunt and uncle have been attacked by the Empire, and he's like land speedering back home to see if they're okay. Just me?
No, yeah.
That's the
Shut up, Loz. You know the one.
That's the desert scene.
And you were like sitting there eating popcorn, crying, going, "Oh God, I hope Uncle Owen's okay." Well, that's got a very famous wipe where the land speeder's coming left to right across the screen, and the wipe's like just in front of it.
Yeah.
That's that kind of stuff. So if you're going to shoot a car, that's kind of a cool thing to use. Text, okay. Text is a similar thing. So there's lots of little presets here. Some of them are a bit.
Is that actually a Star Wars one?
No. There's kind of the Star Wars.
Yeah.
However, that one,
And it's in another language.
it's that Lorem Ipsum thingy, you know, like just generic text. You can type what you want in there.
Yeah.
That one sometimes plays up, like if you don't, like if there's only 3 people and there's 3 people in the credits, it just goes like,
You
yeah.
use it a few times.
Yeah, Star Wars. Pixel Dust, nice. Boogie Nights, yeah. You just got to be aware that this is iMovie and it's free on every Macintosh on the planet. So these things do start to pop up a lot. And sometimes it's nice just to go with like centered. And you can either put it by itself and call it Ben Talks iMovie. Yeah. And then go in here and change the font to something a bit more custom and a bit more you. And then it's just like Ben Talks iMovie. Nice. Or you can grab it and you can put it above a clip. And then all of a sudden
There's 2 ways of doing it. One, you can use.
and it's not Ben Talks iMovie, it is Pete Talks Camera Gear. Okay.
There's 2 ways of doing it. One, you can use Pocket Wizard.
And it depends, you got to think of your audience and how quickly they can read. This is probably a bit much.
There's 2 ways of doing it. One, you can use Pocket Wizard to trigger the camera if you've got the right connector.
Yeah, okay. So be sensitive to that, and you just, same thing, you can click them, you can split them, you can cut them, you can drag them, you can trim them, all that kind of stuff applies to them too. Cool. I'm going to take some questions and I'll probably leave it there because we've done bringing footage in, we've done dragging in and out to see and explode it, we've done moving clips, as in from one, moving them around, we've had a look at having the A roll and then the layer of B roll, transitions and titles. So that's a heap of stuff. And we've also had a little play with a few of the things up in there. Yeah? Okay, so that's like probably enough. Any questions?
No, it's similar to Premiere.
Yeah, cool. All right, so there's some footage there. I just want you to have a play. I want you to cut it up. I want you to mess it up and just get used to that idea of things. Yeah, all right? Sweet.